Hello and welcome to this informational series on supplements, which will be in sports and more. My name is Nandor, and the topic will really be to take a look at various ergogenic aids that can help in improving sports performance, and also other benefits to other types of populations other than athletes, right? Because if something works in an athletic population, then it might have some sort of validity elsewhere as well. So the format that I intend to follow throughout all these presentations is to pick a supplement, which I will go through, a list of supplements that I will initially start off with, then of course might expand upon. So I will pick a supplement, and then what I will do in each presentation is I will go through what they are. That means the composition. Is it essential, non-essential? Is it an amino? Is it something naturally occurring in the body? Can it be synthesized? And so forth. And then its mode of action. So what does it really do, or what is it supposed to do? Then I will look at a little bit of a theoretical foundation on how it is really supposed to work, and really by that I mean the signaling or metabolic pathways that it utilizes. And this of course will be important because this will determine how or what sort of athlete may benefit and how they may benefit, or in the case of a special population, once again, how they may benefit from this. And I think this is really important because it's a common problem as far as I have encountered both in training and in research is that the specificity is not clear. Everything has to be very specific, whether it is the type of muscle contraction you utilize or the type of supplement, that it affects the relevant pathways. Because they are intensity and time dependent. And if someone were to test a given supplement for a wrong metabolic pathway, then an actual working or useful supplement might not really be as effective as it could be otherwise. So as a simple example, if you were to take creatine, which affects very short-term energy supply, immediate energy, then testing that maybe for aerobic, for marathons might not be the best idea, because it's really the metabolic pathway of creatine would be different than the one tested. So anyway, so this is very important, and it is oftentimes missed, surprisingly often in fact. And then I will, once the theoretical foundations are laid, I will move on and look at science. So I will pick studies, and yes, here you could say that I could cherry pick studies. I'll try not to. If it's available, if it's possible, I will use things like meta-analyses or systemic reviews. That is basically looks at a collection of studies. What do studies in general say on this topic? Sort of answering that, and based on that, I will look at whether, based on the science, whether this supplement really is a yay or a nay. So does it really have foundations or not? And then I will move on and I will look at the dosing. So I will present what sort of dosing the supplements have in the studies, and of course tie that there might be so that it requires a higher dose or a lower dose. Maybe dose is irrelevant past a certain amount. Maybe that can explain some of the differences in this in the study results. And then also I will look at in real life, because oftentimes I think people take in different amounts in real life than they would in studies, for various reasons, mainly for greed and lack of patience, but that's a different story. And then finally, I will give a verdict. Verdict is going to be scaled from A to an F, A being the best. Now, this is obviously to an extent subjective. However, I will try to make it as not subjective as possible, so as objective as possible, right? And how will I do that? Well, I will look at the supplement. I will look at the mode of action, right? All these things I mentioned. How it's supposed to act. We will look at, okay, so does it really act that way? Does science support it? Is the dosing realistic, right? Is this a dose that we can take? And for instance, I can give some example of supplements that actually work in the clinical setting, but fed through an IV, the doses that are given are so high that it will never be obtained in real life through Costco. You know, it's you would just have to basically eat the whole jar of pills to get a single serving. So the dosing might be off, even though the supplement actually works given the right amount. And then finally, I'll also look at things like, is it safe? Is it safe? Are there studies to support long-term safety? Is it expensive? Is it obtainable? Do you have to go to a different country to get it? So a combination of all these factors is going to be considered in that final grade. And of course, also what type of population it applies to. Does it apply to something very, very, very specific, or is it really to a broad population? So let's just move on quickly and see what type of supplements I intend to cover as of now, though this list may perhaps grow. So my list is as of now, it's creatine, beta-alanine, caffeine, arginine, but actually rather citrulline, which I'll explain why, iron, and protein. Now, the way these are sort of picked is they are a little bit different. They kind of each they overlap very little, so they will affect different energy systems or have different delivery mechanisms, or they will just be somewhat controversial, as would be, for instance, the example of caffeine, not from a performance standpoint, although there is variation in performance and there are good reasons for that, but also actually is it really safe, and what determines its safety? This is something that's been hugely discussed, and before I researched caffeine myself, I had received all kinds of comments and remarks and questions on how it can affect heart health and addiction and withdrawal and so forth and so forth. So it's caffeine specifically I picked because it's interesting, and also there is considerable science backing that at least in sports it is effective, but it is not clear what makes it effective. So anyway, so it's a bit of a controversial supplements. I think it will be sort of cool to kind of cover. Also, I would assume that most people actually don't know how this works. Certainly not caffeine, as it is a little bit more complex, but even something relatively simple as creatine. So anyways, hopefully this will be something that at least some people will find useful, learn some new things, have some takeaways, and hopefully take advantage of some of the benefits, because as I will show, most of these supplements, actually, at least some of them, but actually most of them, have some pretty serious health benefits if used correctly for populations other than athletes, specifically people who are older, people who have disabilities, who can suffer from diabetes, who can suffer from neurodegenerative diseases, from addiction, from high blood pressure. Actually, some of these supplements have pretty powerful effect on these diseases, and they are also at the same time, they're very cheap and easy to come by. And on that note, actually, I will add in steroid D3. You probably thought I was going to write steroids, right? No, it's actually steroid D3. It's vitamin D3, vitamin D. Very, very, very powerful. I'll actually go through that too. Little known about what kind of magic this thing can do for immune system. I was actually shocked at its effectiveness. I had no idea until I came across it in the immunology class, in fact. And the professor happened to be a big researcher of vitamin D3, and I started reading up, and it's pretty impressive stuff. So anyways, so there, my list just grew. Anyways, hopefully this will find useful for at least some, and if anybody wants to know more or something in particular, please feel free to let me know, probably just through leaving a comment. Anyways, enjoy.